Who the hell is Alex, and why is his name on our baby's wall? I hurled the stuffed bear across the nursery. The crib crashed against the wall as Michelle blocked the doorway. 15 missed calls flashed on her phone from A. My hands shook violently as I gripped the card that read for my son. Love, Daddy. I'd been sterile for 12 years. This nursery shouldn't exist in my house. You weren't supposed to be home until tomorrow, she whispered, her hand moving protectively to her stomach. I stared at the gesture, my mind racing through the impossible mathematics of pregnancy and betrayal. The name Alex mocked me from the wall, my best friend's name stenciled above what should have been our guest bed. I pulled out my phone with trembling fingers and pressed record, slipping it into my pocket while she was distracted. Whatever explanation she had, I needed evidence. Whatever lies she was about to tell, I needed proof. How long? I asked, my voice eerily calm despite the storm raging inside me. Michelle glanced at the suitcase I dropped in the hallway 47 seconds ago, the suitcase that shouldn't be here, the husband who'd returned one day too early. Her eyes darted to the window, to the driveway, as if calculating whether someone would arrive soon. Someone whose name matched the blue letters on the wall. James, please. It's complicated. If you just listen, how long? Each word fell like a hammer. She straightened her shoulders, something hardening in her expression. Long enough. The house I'd spent 3 years paying for suddenly felt like a stranger's home. The woman I'd kissed goodbye 4 weeks ago at the airport was a stranger too. I thought of the Henderson project in Denver, the 60-hour weeks I'd been putting in. The overtime that was supposed to be building our future, not funding their deception. I ran my finger along the edge of the crib, solid oak, expensive. Nice of Alex to splurge. I picked up a small blue blanket, monogrammed with the initial A. Is this for Alex Jr., or just a coincidence? Her silence told me everything. The chandelier I'd installed in the hallway last summer caught the afternoon light, casting fractured rainbows across her guilty face. I thought about the text from my company's travel department confirming my flight change, the message she never saw that allowed me to witness this betrayal firsthand. How are you going to explain the pregnancy? I asked, genuinely curious how far the deception would have gone. I've known I can't have children since I was 26. Did you think I just, what? Believe in a miracle? Michelle's eyes narrowed. Actually, we were going to tell you that we hit harder than any physical blow. When? After the baby was born. I laughed, a hollow sound that echoed off the pristine white walls. Of course. After you'd used my insurance, my house, my everything. Her face flushed. That's not fair. I stepped closer, pulse pounding in my ears. You want to talk about fair? How long have you been sleeping with my best friend in my bed? The doorbell rang before she could answer. We both froze, eyes locked in silent combat. I knew who it would be without looking. My best friend of 15 years. The man whose child my wife was carrying. I gripped the card in my pocket, feeling its edges cut into my palm. Whatever happened next, nothing would ever be the same. 3 lives were about to collapse in the white room that was never meant for my child. I moved toward the door, my decision made. I didn't slam doors. I didn't yell. That wasn't me, the quiet engineer who measured twice, cut once. I simply walked to the kitchen and placed my phone face up on the counter between us. Michelle followed, her footsteps hesitant on the hardwood floors I'd installed myself 2 summers ago. How far along? I asked, voice eerily steady. She sat across from me, hands folded protectively over her belly. For months. I nodded, absorbing the information like it was structural data for a building foundation. For months. That meant Christmas, when Alex had stayed over after too much eggnog. When I'd offered him our guest room. The same room, now painted white, with his name on the wall. And Alex knows. Not a question. Michelle's eyes widened slightly. How did you? The name on the wall isn't exactly subtle. I gestured vaguely toward the nursery. Plus, there's a bear from Daddy in there. And unless I've been sleepwalking to Toys R Us, that's not from me. Her shoulders slumped. We didn't mean for this to happen. The laugh that escaped me sounded foreign, hollow and sharp. Clearly, I pointed to her stomach. That doesn't just happen, Michelle. And the nursery? That took planning. Paint samples. Furniture delivery appointments. She flinched. I was going to tell you. When? I leaned forward. Before or after you'd picked out schools? Michelle's phone buzzed on the counter. Alex's name flashed on the screen with a heart emoji beside it. She reached for it, but I was faster. Don't answer that, I said, sliding the phone away. Not yet. I think I deserve answers first. She nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. I felt nothing watching it fall. How long? I asked. James, how long? She looked at her hands. A year and a half. 18 months. While I was putting in 60-hour weeks designing the Henderson Tower. While I was flying to Seattle and back twice a month. While I was building us a life. Is that why you pushed for this house? The question came from somewhere deep and wounded. So you'd have somewhere to play house with him when I was gone? No. Her denial was too quick, too rehearsed. I never meant to hurt you. And yet, I gestured around us, at the home we bought 6 months ago. Here we are. Michelle's shoulders straightened suddenly, defiance replacing guilt. What was I supposed to do, James? You knew you couldn't give me children. The accusation hung in the air like toxic gas. Yes, I'd known I was sterile since I was 26. A particularly nasty case of mumps had seen to that. But Michelle had known too, before we got married. Had said it didn't matter. We discussed adoption, I said quietly. You said you were fine with it. I thought I would be. Her voice hardened. But then I realized I wanted more. I wanted to feel my baby grow inside me. I wanted to give birth. Is that so wrong? The wrong part wasn't wanting a baby, I said, standing up slowly. It was lying to my face every day for 18 months. It was fucking my best friend in our bed. She flinched at the word, but didn't deny it. Did you two laugh about it? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Poor, sterile James, working away while you played family? It wasn't like that, she whispered. Then what was it like? Enlighten me. Michelle's eyes met mine, suddenly clear and hard. Alex listens to me. He's there for me. When was the last time you were home for more than a week straight? The accusation landed like a slap. I'd been working 60-hour weeks to pay for this house. Our dream home. The home she'd insisted we needed. So this is my fault. My voice was dangerously quiet. No, she sighed. But we haven't been happy for a long time, James. You know that. I didn't know that. I thought we were building something. I thought we were in this together. The doorbell rang, shattering the moment. Michelle's eyes darted to the window, then back to me. I knew who it was without looking. Perfect timing, I said, reaching for the door. Alex stood on our porch, looking exactly as he had 2 weeks ago when we'd grabbed beers and watched the game. Except now, he wasn't my friend of 15 years. He was the man who'd impregnated my wife. Hey, man, he started, then froze when he saw my face. James? You're home early. I stood aside. Come in. We were just talking about you. His eyes found Michelle over my shoulder, some silent message passing between them that made my stomach turn. He stepped inside carefully, like a man entering a minefield. James, let me explain, he began, but I cut him off. Explain what? How you've been sleeping with my wife for 18 months. Or how you're planning to play daddy to a kid in my house. Alex flinched. It's complicated. Actually, it seems pretty simple to me. I crossed my arms. What I can't figure out is the long game here. Were you planning to tell me the baby was mine? Pretend I'm the father while you two keep sneaking around? Michelle stepped between us. James, please. Let's talk about this rationally. Rationally? I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. You want to talk rationally about how you've been systematically destroying our marriage while I built us a future. Alex put his hand on Michelle's shoulder, a gesture so casual, so intimate that I nearly lost it right there. We never meant for this to happen, he said, echoing Michelle's earlier words. But now that it has, we need to figure out what's best for everyone. Best for everyone, I repeated slowly. And what exactly does that look like in your mind? They exchanged a glance that told me everything. They discussed this, planned this. We thought, Michelle began carefully, that maybe we could all talk to a therapist. Figure out a transition that would be easiest for everyone. A transition. The word tasted like ash. You mean your exit strategy? Neither denied it. I walked to the window, looking out at the neighborhood we'd chosen together. The porch swing I'd installed last summer. The garden she'd planted with such care. All of it built on quicksand. How long have you been planning to leave? I asked without turning around. The silence stretched until Michelle finally answered. We were going to wait until after the baby was born. Of course. They needed my income, my health insurance, my stability until they were ready. And the nursery? I turned back to them. That was what a trial run. Practice for your new life together. Alex at least had the decency to look ashamed. The nursery was my idea. I wanted to do something for my child. My child. The words cut deeper than I expected. In my house. I stepped closer to him. You marked your territory in my house while I was away building skyscrapers to pay for it. Michelle moved between us again. James, please. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Something in me snapped. Am I? Is there an easy way to find out your wife and best friend have been lying to you for 2 years? Please, enlighten me on the proper etiquette for being completely betrayed. Alex's face hardened. Look, I get that you're angry. You don't get anything. I cut him off. You don't know what it's like to stand in a room with the two people you trusted most and realize everything was a lie. The room fell silent. Outside, a neighbor's lawnmower droned on, the normality of it almost obscene against the collapse of my life. I said finally, I need you both to leave. Michelle blinked. This is my house too. Is it? I pulled out my phone. Because I'm pretty sure the deed and mortgage are in my name alone. Remember? Your credit was too bad to qualify. Her face paled. Another thing I'd fixed for her. You can't just kick us out. Alex stepped forward. She's pregnant. Yes, I'm aware. Congratulations. I moved to the door and opened it. You have 30 minutes to pack essentials. The rest we can sort out later. Through lawyers. Michelle's eyes filled with tears, but I'd reached the limit of my compassion. James, please. Where are we supposed to go? I hear Alex has a lovely apartment. Spacious enough for a nursery, I'm sure. I glanced at my watch. 29 minutes. They stood frozen, as if they couldn't believe this was happening. As if I was the one who'd shattered our world. Now, I said, my voice leaving no room for argument. After they left, Michelle sobbing, Alex tense and silent as they loaded suitcases into his car, I walked through our house like a ghost. For years of marriage, scattered through every room. Wedding photos I now wanted to burn. The couch where we'd cuddled through countless movies. The bed where she'd slept with someone else. In the white room. The nursery that was never meant for our child. I stood in the doorway, staring at the name on the wall. The mobile twirled silently in the air conditioning's gentle breeze. On impulse, I grabbed the stuffed bear from the corner, reading the attached note again. For my son. Love, Daddy. The rage finally hit me. Not in shouts or thrown objects, but in a cold, precise fury. I pulled out my phone and called Dr. Harrison's office. This is James Clark. I need a copy of my medical records from 12 years ago. I paused. Specifically, the test results confirming my infertility. 3 hours later, the papers were in my hand. Definitive, clinical proof that I could never father a child. Not now, not ever. I placed the documents on the kitchen table and made another call, this time to a locksmith. While I waited, I went to our home office and pulled out our mortgage documents, our deed, our joint account statements. All in my name. All my signature. All my collateral. The locksmith came and went. The house was secured, new keys, new codes. I poured myself 2 fingers of whiskey and sat in the dark, scrolling through my text history with Alex. Can't wait to see you, brother, his message from 3 weeks ago read. Been too long. We need to catch up. I bit back the bitter laugh that threatened to escape. Catch up. Right. My phone buzzed with a text from Michelle. James, please. Let's talk about this. We can work through it. And then another from Alex. Man, I know you're hurt and angry. But think about what's best for the baby. The baby. His baby. Their baby. Not mine. Never mind. I finished my whiskey and made one more call. To my company's travel department. I need to be on the next flight to Denver, I said. And I need to extend my stay there. Indefinitely. 2 days later, I sat in a sterile hotel room in Denver, spreadsheets open on my laptop, but my mind 1,000 miles away. My phone had been buzzing constantly. Michelle, Alex, even Michelle's mother asking what was going on. I'd answered none of them. Instead, I'd called Mark Williams, the most ruthless divorce attorney in Chicago. So let me get this straight, Mark said after I'd explained everything. Your wife is pregnant with your best friend's baby. They've been having an affair for over a year, and they were planning to wait until after the birth to tell you they're leaving? That's the situation, I confirmed. And the house is solely in your name? The mortgage too? Yes. Michelle's credit was too poor to co-sign. A pause. And you have medical proof of your infertility? Dated 12 years ago, with follow-up tests 5 years ago confirming it's permanent. Mark let out a low whistle. Mr. Clark, I don't often say this, but you're in a surprisingly strong position here. For the first time in days, I felt something other than numbness. What do you mean? Your wife committed adultery, provable adultery. She's carrying another man's child while married to you. The marital home is solely in your name. If you wanted to, you could make this very, very uncomfortable for both of them. I stared out the hotel window at the Denver skyline. I don't want revenge, I said finally. I just want out. Understandable, Mark replied. But you should know what cards you're holding. In this situation, you could potentially walk away with everything except the clothes on their backs. The thought was tempting, so tempting it scared me. Make them hurt like I was hurting. Take everything they had planned for their perfect little family. I need time to think, I said. After hanging up, I walked to the bathroom and stared at my reflection. I barely recognized myself. Eyes hollow, face drawn. I looked like a man who'd been hollowed out from the inside. My phone buzzed again. A text from Dr. Carson, our marriage counselor. Michelle had apparently reached out to him. James, Michelle has asked me to contact you. She says there's been a misunderstanding and she's concerned about your well-being. Would you be willing to come in for an emergency session? Misunderstanding. As if finding a nursery for another man's baby in my house was a simple mix-up, like using salt instead of sugar. I typed back, there's no misunderstanding. Michelle is pregnant with my former best friend's baby after an 18-month affair. They were planning to leave me after the birth. Please refer her to a different therapist as I will not be continuing services with you. Hitting send felt like cutting another cord, tying me to my old life. Then I opened Michelle's latest message. James, please come home. We need to talk about this like adults. You can't just disappear. Like adults. As if adults routinely betrayed the people who love them most. I started typing, deleted it, started again. Finally, I settled on. I'm working. Contact my attorney, Mark Williams, with any further communication. Then I blocked her number. And Alex's. And everyone else who might try to pull me back into their web of lies. I had work to do. A building to design. A future to construct. One that didn't include either of them. 3 weeks passed. Denver became my refuge. I threw myself into the Henderson project, working 14-hour days that left me too exhausted to dream. At night, I collapsed in my hotel room, ignoring the mounting emails from Mark about settlement offers from Michelle's lawyer. They're getting desperate, Mark informed me during our weekly call. Michelle's claiming she has rights to the house as your spouse, but without her name on any documents and with the adultery factor, she's on shaky ground. I stared at the hotel ceiling. What do they want? She wants 3 months to find a new place, full access to the house during that time, and half of its value. I laughed bitterly. Half? I made every payment. I put down the deposit. Her contribution was picking out curtains, which is why we can easily counter, Mark said. But I need to know what you want, James. What's your endgame here? I hadn't let myself think that far ahead. Each day had been about survival, about making it through 24 hours without completely falling apart. I paused, the answer crystallizing. I want nothing from them, and I want them to have nothing of mine. Clean break, Mark nodded. We can push for that. But I don't care what courts typically do, I interrupted. I've spent 4 years building a life for someone who was planning to take it all away. I won't give her another day. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and pulled up the folder I'd been avoiding: honeymoon photos, holiday snapshots, selfies of happier times. Michelle laughing in the snow. Alex and me at a baseball game. The 3 of us at Michelle's birthday last year, Alex's arm casually around her shoulder in a way that now made me sick. I clicked through them mechanically, searching for signs I'd missed. Had there been glances I'd overlooked? Touches that lingered too long? Or had I simply been too busy building our future to notice they were dismantling it behind me? A knock at my hotel door startled me. It was nearly midnight, too late for housekeeping, too early for my morning coffee order. I approached cautiously, checked the peephole, and felt my blood freeze. Alex stood in the hallway, shifting nervously from foot to foot. For a moment, I considered pretending I wasn't there. But a cold curiosity won out. I opened the door without removing the security chain. How did you find me? I asked flatly. Alex looked terrible, unshaven, exhausted. Nothing like the confident friend I'd known for 15 years. Your project manager, he admitted. I told him it was a family emergency. We're not family. I made no move to let him in. He rubbed his face. James, please. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. Against my better judgment, I closed the door, removed the chain, and reopened it. Alex stepped inside, his eyes darting around the impersonal hotel room that had become my home. You look like shit, he said finally. Funny, I was thinking the same about you. I remained standing, arms crossed. For minutes left. He sank onto the edge of the bed. Michelle's a wreck. She's staying with her sister, but she can barely eat, barely sleeps, not my problem. My voice could have frozen water. She's carrying my child, man. Our stress is affecting the baby. Something ugly twisted inside me. And I'm supposed to care about your baby now? The one you created by fucking my wife. Alex flinched, but pressed on. I know we hurt you. It was never supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen? Walk me through the plan, Alex. When exactly were you going to tell me you'd been sleeping with my wife and she was carrying your baby? He looked at his hands. After the birth. We thought it would be easier then. Easier? I laughed. For whom? For everyone, he insisted. Michelle needed the stability, the health insurance. We didn't want to disrupt, so you were using me, I cut in. For my paycheck. For my benefits. For my house. He couldn't meet my eyes. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? I stepped closer. Explain it to me. Explain how my wife and best friend managed to betray me for 18 months and still think they deserve anything from me. Alex stood suddenly. Because we're human. We made a mistake, a terrible one. But Michelle is still the woman you married. Don't you still care about her at all? The question hit harder than I expected. Did I still care? Under all the rage and pain, was there anything left? I cared about the woman I thought I married, I said finally. But that person doesn't exist. Maybe she never did. Alex ran a hand through his hair. What do you want, James? Money? The house? Name it. We just need to move forward. I looked at him, really looked at him. This man who'd stood beside me at my wedding, who'd helped me move into my first apartment, who'd sat with me at my father's funeral. I want you to leave, I said quietly. And I never want to see either of you again. James, I'm filing for divorce on grounds of adultery. Michelle gets nothing from me, not money, not time, not a single dish from our kitchen. You two created this situation. You can deal with the consequences. Alex's face hardened. That's cold, man. Even for you. Cold. I stepped closer until we were eye to eye. Cold is planning to abandon your husband after using his health insurance to deliver another man's baby. Cold is turning a guest room into a nursery while I was working overtime to pay for it. Don't talk to me about Cold. He stepped back. Michelle was right. You checked out of this marriage long before we did anything wrong. The accusation struck like a physical blow. Get out. You were never there, James. Always at work, always on a plane, working to build the life she wanted. I shouted, finally losing my composure. The house she wanted. The future she claimed to want with me. Alex stood his ground. A house isn't a marriage. A paycheck isn't love. And fucking my wife isn't friendship, I countered. Now get out before I call security. He moved toward the door, then paused. You know what the worst part is? You're so focused on what we did wrong that you can't see your own part in this. My part. I almost laughed. Did I force you to sleep with my wife? No, he said quietly. But you left her alone so often she forgot what it felt like to be wanted, to be seen. The door closed behind him before I could respond. I stood frozen, his words echoing in my head. Had I been that absent? That blind? Had I built walls and roofs while neglecting the people meant to live inside them? I sat heavily on the bed, staring at nothing. Then I pulled out my phone and unblocked Michelle's number. There were 47 unread messages waiting. I never meant to hurt you. Please come home so we can talk. Don't throw away 4 years over one mistake. Alex is moving to Boston for a job offer. It was never about him. I miss you. I'm sorry. The baby isn't the problem. We can make this work. James, please. I still love you. The last one had come just hours ago. I'm moving out this weekend. Tell me if you want to say goodbye. I set the phone down without responding and opened my laptop again. This time, I pulled up the files Mark had sent me, divorce papers, property agreements, final dissolution terms. Everything needed to end a 4-year marriage with surgical precision. My finger hovered over the signature line of the digital document. One signature and it would be over. I could walk away, start fresh, never look back. I thought of the white room, the name on the wall, the mobile spinning silently in the empty air. A child who wasn't mine, would never be mine. I signed. 6 months later, I stood in an empty house in Chicago, boxes stacked neatly by the door. The moving company would arrive tomorrow to take them to my new place in Denver, a permanent relocation my company had been happy to approve. The house had sold quickly, well above asking price. Another couple's dream home now, another fresh start. I walked through the rooms one last time. The kitchen where we'd cooked Sunday breakfasts. The living room where we'd argued about paint colors. The bedroom where we'd built and destroyed a marriage. And finally, the white room. I'd never repainted it after they left. Had barely entered it at all. But now, on my last night, I forced myself to step inside. The room was empty except for a small wooden box in the center. Items I couldn't bring myself to pack or throw away. I knelt beside it and lifted the lid. Our wedding photo. Christmas cards. The keys to our first apartment. A movie ticket stub from our first date. At the bottom lay a small envelope I hadn't opened yet, delivered by Mark after the divorce was finalized 3 weeks ago. Michelle's handwriting on the front simply said, James. I'd been carrying it with me, unable to open it, unable to throw it away. Tonight, in this empty house, it felt right to finally read it. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a small black and white image, an ultrasound photo. I set the photo aside without studying it and unfolded the letter. James, by the time you read this, our divorce will be final. There's nothing I can say to undo what happened, and maybe that's for the best. We were broken long before Alex, though I was too afraid to admit it. I'm not writing to ask forgiveness or to make excuses. I'm writing because despite everything, you deserved better than what I gave you. You deserved honesty, even when it was difficult. Especially when it was difficult. The baby is a girl. I'm due in 2 months. Alex and I are not together. That ended shortly after you found out. He took the job in Boston, and I'm staying with my sister until I figure out what's next. I've enclosed the ultrasound photo not to hurt you, but because in some strange way, I thought you should have it. This child was the catalyst for the end of us, but perhaps also the beginning of something else. Truth, painful as it is. I hope someday you find what you're looking for, James. I hope you build something real with someone who sees you. All of you, not just the provider, the engineer, the husband, but the man underneath it all. Take care of yourself. Michelle. I set the letter down, surprisingly empty of the rage I'd expected. In its place was something quieter, more resigned. Not forgiveness, exactly, but perhaps the beginning of letting go. I didn't look at the ultrasound photo. Instead, I placed it back in the envelope with the letter and returned them to the box. Then I closed the lid, stood up, and walked away from the white room for the final time. Outside, the moving truck pulled up a day early. The driver apologized for the mix-up, but I told him it was fine. Better, even. I was ready to go. As they loaded my boxes, my books, my clothes, my carefully packed tools, I stood on the lawn looking up at the house. For years of marriage, 18 months of betrayal, 6 months of rebuilding. It looked smaller now, somehow. Just walls and windows and a roof. Just a structure, not a home. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah, the project manager I'd been seeing in Denver. Safe travels tomorrow. Dinner when you get back? I smiled. A real smile, the first in what felt like forever. Actually, I'm arriving tonight. Still on for dinner? Her reply came quickly. Absolutely. Can't wait to see you. I took one last look at the house, then got into my car and drove away without looking back. Some rooms can never be repainted. Some wounds never fully heal. But some endings are just beginnings in disguise. And sometimes, the only way forward is to leave it all behind. Was it right to walk away from everything we'd built? To start over with nothing but the lessons learned from broken trust? I still don't know. But I do know that sometimes the strongest foundations are built on the ruins of what came before.